partner. And I think it's really important to have two action partners. The reason why is because if you have two action partners, one, you'll speak to someone every day. There's always someone who's going to be too busy. Two is that they'll focus on different parts of your life and you'll focus on different parts of their life. You don't have to plan that out. It will just take my word for it. It will work out. It's important to have two action partners. Also, different people have different consciousness and perspectives, and one will be more focused on social, the other will be more focused on financial, the other person will be focused on problems. Action meetings. Have an action meeting once a week with 3 people, 15 minutes on the phone. Each person gets 15 minutes. 15 minutes on what do we talk about? I'm self-employed, and it's an actor, and he's self-employed, and then my friend has a little photography company. So we talk about our challenges for the week, what's making us anxious, what's making us concerned, what are we doing? So the action meeting is once a week. So these are all, someone on a swing
Denise,
out there?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Is that the live streaming thing?
We're working on it.
Can you see yourself there?
I-
I don't know. We're working on it.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, you're far away.
I
Don't
look
worry.
very anonymous. I look like I'm in the cave. Hey, this
You're
is
gonna
very-
get more and
okay,
more
we're not-
close
it's not
up as
even
the
going
workshop
fast.
gets. You're gonna get bigger and more real to life. So we're
That's good. It's almost like recovery. It's recovery as the day goes on.
Yeah. It starts out no one knows where you are on the internet.
I love
They're
it,
searching
yeah.
for you.
Okay.
And
Get
then
my
suddenly
sponsor
you
on the phone
appear.
later.
Just one minute.
So that's the live streaming thing, right? Hey guys. Anyway, so the interdependence. We need to have action meetings once a week for a few minutes on the phone, 10, 15 minutes. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go to Starbucks. You just do a conference call. Basically, it's creating a great week because you're talking about, I'm anxious about this. I'm going to this trade show. I'm putting up a booth. I got a presentation I'm making. This client owes me a bill. What should I do? I've got cash flow issues. These are all judgment calls. And even with recovery in UA, we can't make the best calls alone. That's including me. I've been doing this for a long time. I cannot make the best calls alone. Some of us have IRS issues. Some of us have college loans, debt repayment, all sorts of stuff. So we need to have the connection with others. And we do this by beginning with the surrounding prayer. So by doing that, we have a spiritual energy that allows us to go through that experience.
Okay.
Everyone clear so far? Museum states, self-seeking, we seek them out? Okay.
Is that from the very beginning that you would recommend having the action part?
Well, the very beginning, I'd recommend first get a sponsor, and yes, and then get an action partner to help you in your realities to where it is.
And then action meetings, you recommend that from the very beginning?
I would say, yeah, pretty soon, yeah. But understand that, here's the deal. Does everyone know what the bottom of this addiction is? Yeah.
Homelessness?
What's that?
Homelessness?
Not necessarily, that could be a cost-saving measure.
A total loss of faith.
Okay?
Back from another addiction?
Okay. Anyone else?
Isolation.
Isolation? I like that. Good.
Depression or like
Okay.
inability to act.
The ultimate, write this down, those are good answers, but let's go down to the pithy core, as they say. The ultimate bottom of this addiction is have your energy cut off for what your soul wants to do. Have your energy cut off for what your soul wants to do. For example, let's say you want to play the guitar, and you say, I will sign up for guitar lessons. This addiction will cut the energy, so you will not have the energy to study guitar. Then you want to act, and you go to an acting school, and your soul wants to do this. The disease will say, too much visibility, cutting off the energy, like a light switch. That happened to me at 16, 17, 18, 19. I don't know if you heard any of my audio files, but the Cliff Notes version of it is that I got funding to go to a great acting school to study with William Hickey, who was in Prizzi's Honor and Little Big Man and all these great films. And he would say, okay, Andrew, go and read Waiting to Lefty, page 49 to 62, get a scene partner, come back and do it next week. Could I do it? No. Are you kidding me? I'm going to be with a scene partner in front of the class who's waiting for Lefty. I couldn't do Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof. So I studied with Barry Galbraith, great jazz guitar player. He said, okay, Andrew, Berkeley method, read 48 to 63, come back next week. Could I do that? No, couldn't do it. Now at the time, was I drinking? No. Using drugs? No. Psychotropic medication? No. Suicidal ideation? No. Low level anxiety? No. I had no idea why the energy was just cut off. And certainly I was living in a halfway house in East Village, which was a blessing. It really was a blessing. And what happened was that I just would not go. I would not go to classes. And I didn't know why. See, there was no thought about it. Write these two words down, reactive and relational. All of our under-earning choices come out of being reactive, meaning that there's no thought involved. We just don't do something. Or we know there's a great workshop and seminar, we just don't go. Or there's a great, or we may have some really great things that we've created, like say for the rock star Prince, and we just don't sell them. So the whole idea of it is that reactive decisions don't really involve thought. It's sort of like an alcoholic saying, I gotta have a drink, gotta have a drink, gotta have a drink. And under earnings, I gotta hide, I gotta hide, I gotta hide. And that's really, there's no intellectual, reflective, relational thought. Whereas recovery is relational. It's saying, okay, I feel this way. How do you feel about that, Andrew? We're going to talk about a great new tool based on step 3 and step 11 later called the conversation without condemnation. Yes. Oh, hi there, live streaming people. Welcome. And very simply, this is not a talk shop, it is a workshop. So what we're going to be doing is doing assignments throughout the next 4 periods. We're going to break for lunch, come back and have another 4 periods. And my suggestion to you is that when I come up with a writing exercise, definitely do it and share with people in your group, or if you're on a phone line, share on the phone line and have that interaction and interdependent experience. So we're going to talk about character assets, character defects, right or not. Share them with others, and today, and that helps me come out of the cave. All right, any questions? Everyone, we'll have action meeting. Yes, and also you guys there in the virtual world, you will have an action meeting either on the phone, or if you're in a church basement or a living room. It'll basically create 3 people today where you sit around, each person gets a half an hour. So everyone gets taken care of today. Okay, where are we? You'll get some time. All right, now we're going to talk about the symptoms of under-earning. Isn't that fun? All right. Move ahead. The symptoms of under-earning. Fred, do you have a copy of the symptoms of under-earning so I don't stammer and all that? Yes. Fred, give it to her, the woman in the denim jacket, first row. Okay. Yeah, she gave me hers. You give it to her. Got rid of it. Thank you. Okay, time and difference. Time and difference. Does everyone know what time and difference means? Anyone who's got questions about time and difference? Okay. What are we have 5 character defects: fear, self-seeking. Now remember, we're seeking these stinking museum states. I'm telling you, a museum state is like showing up every morning and putting 10 weights on your foot, 10 pounds of weight on your foot, and saying, before I begin the day, let me put 10 pounds on each leg. And then put 10 pounds on it, then I'll be able to get through the day. Maybe put 20 pounds on it, then it'll be good. Because that's what normalcy is to me. Okay, time and difference. Get the wording right. We put off what must be done and do not use our time to support our own vision or further our goals. Boy, okay, best is that. Okay, what are the 5 character defects that go into time and difference? Or maybe 4, or maybe 3.
Selfishness.
Okay, 1, selfishness, write it down. Write these down, guys, so you look at how in the 12-step structure born out of AA relates to these symptoms. So it's not just hearing the symptoms over and over again, you can see what character defects go in to support them. Selfishness, what else?
Self-centered fear.
Self-centered fear, sure, I'm afraid of being visible. And so we're also lying to ourselves by being indifferent, right? So we're lying to ourselves without knowing that we're lying, so that comes out of dishonesty. Write that down, guys, dishonesty. We're being inconsiderate, dishonest, self-seeking. What are we seeking out? What are we seeking out under the common UA, museum states, under the time indifference symbol?
I don't know how that ties with the museum states, but I think it's instant gratification.
Comes out of feeling less than enough, struggleaholic, because if you're indifferent to making a living, guess what? The bill's going to come in, then guess what you're going to be doing? You're going to be struggling. And you're going to feel less than enough because maybe your wife or your husband is saying, gee, we got this bill, we got that bill, we got that bill. I don't feel, well, what am I going to do? Let me go out and struggle, or let me go out and deny it, or let me go, or whatever it is. So the soul sickness of the addiction is coming out through self-seeking. We're seeking out some really bad stuff. Self-centered honesty and consideration. Less feeling struggleaholic, less than enough, you know, that. There's another great museum state. Write this down. This is Edgemeister. Edgemeister, where we're addicted to living on the edge. And that comes out of a childhood where with mom and dad, we were always on the edge. We didn't know whether they were going to blow up or freak out or lose it or have a meltdown. So it was always like being an eggshell walker on the edge. So I lived that way. I lived with a mother who was institutionalized, and she would come home and do disturbing things. And I had a stepfather that slept in the basement, and I had these rabbis that said I was lazy. I mean, it was a wonderful childhood. To think of it, oh my God. But yeah, without that childhood, you wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be here. So who the hell knows? You know, things work in very interesting ways. Okay, so we got the idea of some of the symptoms that go into time indifference, right? Any questions regarding that? No? Good. Okay, the next one. Idea deflection. Oh, that's a great idea. It's a great symptom. Idea deflection, where we compulsively reject ideas that can expand our lives or careers and increase our profitability. Has anyone ever done that?
Yes.
Anyone ever done that? You know, they used to, they said to me years ago, Andrew, you got a great voice, you should do voiceovers. And I went, nah, I can't do it. It's too late. I used to know this woman who had a great fashion sense. I said, you get great, you do this great thing with pastels and grays and pinks, and you're just amazing. And why don't you start your own fashion line? She said, nah, whenever we idea deflect, we do an imitation of a goat. The minute you hear something like, that's idea deflection. We all have parents. Hey, Leo, you got a great mind. Why don't you be a lawyer? Hey, Murray, you want to open up an accountancy. You're great with taxes. It's too late. It's too early. I should have done it before. Maybe if I did it, I could have gone here, but there, but I don't know. And what do you think? And so, forget about it. It's like everyone knows some guy that 10 years ago, boy, if I bought that building, I'd be a millionaire today. Why don't you buy something now? No, it's too late. Can't do it now. You out of your mind. The market's locked. Idea deflection. The market's locked up. It's locked up. We can't go there. It's locked up. It's saturated with this. The Chinese are bringing it here. The Iranians are taking it over there. And air is way too invisible, and water is wet. And sand is too dry, and let's watch television. Yes.
So that's an interesting thing that there are people who actually are very successful and that complain a lot, but they're acting while they complain.
Sure.
There's also that's interesting. So
right.
if somebody's moving their feet, even I think of Woody Allen, like he made a career out of that persona, which you just, you know.
Sure. Well, and he, in fact, there was a great scene in Annie Hall where he actually did a misery maven state. He's in the bookstore with Diane Keaton, and the character he played in Annie Hall is Alvy Singer, the writer. And she said, Alvy, can't you ever be happy? Can't you just be happy? He said, no. As long as there's one guy who's suffering, I cannot be happy. So, anyway. Okay. All right. So, idea deflection. What character defects go into idea deflection?
Fear.
There's one. Write it down, fear. Let's do only 3 more. Remember, we're deflecting a good idea. We're pushing the idea away.
Dishonesty, like less than.
Yeah, because we're thinking, well, that's what we're seeking out, to feel less than. You want me to own my own company? Have my own business? Oh, no! So we're pushing that away to seek out feeling less than enough.
In considerations, you're not thinking about what gift you could bring.
Yeah, and in consideration to yourself. Remember, it's a tight circle. So we're inconsiderate. If I'm inconsiderate to you, I'm inconsiderate to me. Tight circle, tight circle. And that's why in UA we have to be very specific about all this stuff. Like I've been in AA. I have 5.5 years sobriety, and the AA people always get excited. Yeah. All I have to do is not drink one day at a time. That's it. So I mean, I'm not demeaning it, but here I got to make choices. Should I go to a networking event? Should I get the video done? Should I call my action partner? What are the cash flow? Am I paying my bills on time? So all these decisions have to be made that are totally different from abstaining from eating white flour, crystal meth, cocaine, or alrighty then. Okay, so let's look at compulsive need to prove. Compulsive need to prove is basically showing that even though you've done something again and again and again, you still got to do it. And you don't believe that you can do it even though you've done it. This is crazy. Why would you need to do something that you've proven that you can actually do? Because we're being what? We're being dishonest to ourselves. Character defect of dishonesty. We're being inconsiderate to ourselves. We're being selfish. We're not even giving ourselves the confidence and the regard of the fact that we can do this. You know, it's like, and I've done that for years. Let me prove that I can do that. Let me prove that I can sell this. Let me prove that I can do those numbers. But that's being inconsiderate, dishonest, and selfish between me and me. And which one of those museum states am I seeking out?
Less than.
Less than enough. What else? Struggleholic. Thank you very much, Henry. Struggleholic.
Edgemeister.
Edgemeister, living on the edge. I've sold millions of dollars of stuff in my life. Most of what I've done is sell stuff. And in fact, UA came out of a sales call, but that's a whole other story. I have up until a couple of years ago suffered with the fact, gee, let me prove to you that I can sell. Let me prove to you, and why? Because I wasn't being honest with me. I was self-seeking to be less than enough. And we're going to talk about a great tool called Prayer Affirmations, which allows us to feel more than enough and to come out of these things that we're seeking out. And everyone is clear about what museum states are and why we do them and why we seek them out. Thank you very much. Okay, clinging to useless possessions. Now, this is not Clutters. Anyone hearing Clutters Anonymous? Okay. Clinging to useless possessions is like holding on to a sock with a hole in it. Why would we do that?
You know, I might get another sock.
Sure, or maybe that sock with a hole on it is good enough for you.
You're gonna fix it someday.
Don't give me a new sock. Just let me wear this sock with the hole on it. I like the way my toe feels against the leather of my shoe. Oh, it's a great feeling. Yeah. Come on, let me just feel that toe leather touch as I'm walking around. Or you try to take the sock and just, wrap it over your toe, which doesn't last the whole day. Or having holes in your underwear. Okay. Dishonesty, a character defect of dishonesty, self-interest, inconsiderate to yourself, seeking out to be less than enough. seeking out struggle, seeking out misery, misery maven. These are, again, when most of my childhood, I was sort of had low-grade misery, so seeking out misery was very comfortable. All museum states, I forgot the key term about this. All museum states we seek out because they feel like home. They feel like home. I really believe in simplicity in the 12-step process. So everything I do is based on really getting down to it. We seek out estates that feel like home. And they don't, and the reality of it is they're not home. They're actual micro addictions that we seek out. Okay, exertion, exhaustion, where we and this is true if you're self-employed. You make a big sale, and then you don't do anything for a week, another week, another week. Now it's the end of the month, new bills to do. Oh my God, I got to go out and do it. We've got to, and it's basically not working with good orderly direction. Has anyone ever done that? Yeah? Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay, you've done that? How have you done exhaustion?
Exactly what you said, the sale, and then, but I don't need to, I think I'm still working, but literally, like, it's like, I feel like there's like a push, like a magic spell that goes over me, and then I'm like, I'm still working, but some part of me thinks I already have the sale, it's very bizarre, I'm in action, but everything stops.
Okay, so it's sort of like you're going into that zone.
It's the high-low
Yeah,
sale,
right.
and I'm
It's
seeing
good
the
order.
micro-addiction of maybe
Right, well, it's a micro addiction of struggle, being a struggleaholic, last night a crumaholic, you know, you're not, and you're losing money because let's say, okay, we made a big sale, guess what, today's a new day. What are we doing today? What are we doing tomorrow? And then the other thing, in exertion, exhaustion, recreation goes out the window as well. So are we going to the gym? Are we working out? Are we having a value is right on each line when you began one thing and you ended it that day. So if you worked from 9 to 5, you write down 8 hours. If you had 2 hours of service, like this stuff, sponsor, other things, you write down 2 hours of service. Recreation, television, movies, working out, having fun. That could also be self-care. Whatever. You just write down the amount of hours at the end of the day, you total them up, and that's it. That's keeping track of your time. That's all you got to do. Nothing any more simple than that. Incidentally, on that screen, I'm not seeing myself. That's okay. I'm seeing a little menu from Facebook. Oh my God! 10 people defriended me. Set this workshop again. Oh my God! Oh well, I must be hearing well. Good. Yes.
Say what those are again?
What categories?
Yeah.
Yes. Business, vision, recreation, self-care, and service. And what you do is, you for each day, you got those, 5-6 lines. If you got one like farming, you can, if you're a farmer, you work for the Trump administration, you could torture. You could just put down when you began, when you ended. At the end of the day, you total up the amount of hours. And do not try to do it perfectly. Do not try to do it perfectly, because that's your disease, messing with you, playing bongos, playing macarinas in your head. You do not want to play, because nothing is perfect. Nothing. We are not perfect, but we're wonderful. We're miracles, and everything.
Categories.
Yes.
I
I don't care if your family, just write down what you're doing. If you're on a farm, you're milking a cow, you can put
So
down.
that goes business, that goes under business?
It's
If you're
okay.
making money out of it, it's business. If you're doing it part of your maintenance structure, you can put it under self-care or family care. Puffin Rescue Fund. They were going to go to New England and make sure that every puffin had its own loving environment, but they couldn't pay the light bill. So, or they're, a lot of people come into UA and they have UA fever, where they begin to do 5 action meetings a week. They have 48 sponsees that they're doing formats. You're making a buck, not yet, but not right now, but I've got 4,800 service commitments for the week. It's going to be good. I'll be very busy. They're starving to death, but boy, they're doing so. So watch out for UA fever. It can creep up when you least expect it. And we give away too much of our time because of what character defects? Let me hear 4.
Less than
No, that's a museum. What's a museum thing?
selfishness.
Okay, selfishness, right. Selfishness to us. We're not taking care of us Again, that's the whole thing. Giving away too much of our time, we are not taking care of who we are. And we're not saying, again, going back to that relational versus reactive, we're not saying, how does this serve me? How does it?
Self-centered peace.
Right, right. And so, dishonesty, inconsideration.
There is a flip, like the other side of the same hand, which is being stingy about
Sure, yes.
volunteering.
Yeah, that's right.
With the same fear for
Right.
oneself.
Okay, so to make that decision correctly, what state would you have to be? Reactive or relational?
Relational.
To yourself, right?
Right.
To yourself, and say, how does this serve me? The most important question in UA, write this down, is how does this serve me? How does this serve me? And if we ask that question, we like, just like in a plane, when you go through the gray clouds, you know, you fly up to 30,000 feet, you got the beautiful sunlight up there, and it's just beautiful. That's where we want to be. How does this serve me? And you can say it to yourself out loud, which is another hint about what's going to be happening a little later today. Because when we say things out loud, we begin to program our subconscious. Okay, let's see here. Undervaluing and underpricing. Why do we do that? Undervaluing and underpricing. Because we are being inconsiderate and selfish with ourselves. We're dishonest with ourselves regarding our needs. We're dishonest with ourselves regarding the value that we're bringing with our product or service. We're seeking out, feeling less than enough. We're seeking out, feeling like struggling. We're seeking out maybe even misery. So these are reactive decisions where there's not a lot of thought behind them. We just do them. What's your isolation. Oh, boy, that's isolation. That's true in any 12-step fellowship. Any people, anyone here, are most people here in multiple fellowships? I am, yeah? Okay. Yeah, we're going to have 48 12-step meetings here today. It's going to be NA at 4 at LA. Isolating. Why do we want to isolate? Because we're safe, right? Because, right, shame. Well, shame, safe, painful, all those things. When I originally pitched UA to my friends from BDA who formed the initial committee, I basically laid out a very simple model. I said, look, if you don't need to have cash under-earn. You can under-earn in a cashless society. For example, let's say you're in Hawaii and you're an under-earner. Well, and you have a choice to create your habitat. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to find some place that's sort of like, let's not leave the dark, not much light, no great view of the Pacific. You put a couple of rocks around it, maybe like a half-eaten mango, a couple of fish that are on the borderline of poison. Maybe a flower that's half dead, and you'll stay in your cave. Whereas if you have recovery, you'll find this beautiful palatial environment overlooking the Pacific with mangoes and coconuts and guavas and women doing hulas and a great view of the Pacific and volleyball. And that's really the difference. The disease does not need, you don't need money to unearth. Does everyone get that? For years, this is a funny story. Well, not that funny, it's actually pretty tragic now that I think of it. But for years, I lived in an apartment in Nyack, and on the side of outside of the window, there was a garbage dump from the Italian restaurant. It was like this, yes, thank you, 5? All right, thank you. It was a garbage dump from an Italian restaurant, and I would look outside of it, and that was where I was. And I would look up the mountain, and I was thinking, gee, that's a great place to live, So when UA began, I had an action meeting, and they said, what do you want? I said, well, I want an apartment overlooking the Hudson River on top of a hill with nature surrounding the apartment, and I want to have my own driveway. And guess what? In 2 weeks, I got it. And you know what the difference of the rent was? $50.
No way.
$50 difference. So just like Dorothy, I could have left at any time, but I didn't believe I could. I didn't believe I could go back to Kansas. No, I didn't. I was stuck on the dark side of Oz. But here's the whole thing. I could have live there any time, but mentally, I felt that I had to stay in that stinking apartment overlooking the dump, and that's the whole thing. Okay, just to finish some of these things up, misplaced guilt and shame, not following up, instability, boredom. Okay, let's look at stability, boredom. Why would we be bored? Why would we be bored with stability? Yes, back there.
We grew up in chaos.
Okay, so we want to struggle, we want to have angst, but maybe we're afraid. Because remember, under earning is, imagine you're an animal, you're a beaver, and you have this bloody gash down the center of your stomach, and what would you do then? Would you play with the other beavers? No, you wouldn't. You'd go hide in a cave. Would you be building dams? No, you wouldn't. You'd be hiding in the damn cave because you're afraid that the other beaver is going to see that you're wounded, right? Was that right?
Yes.
Can I hear it right?
Yes.
Right. So stability boredom is often based on fear. So we're afraid of being with our other fellow beavers, or squirrels, or deer, or thing, and so we want to hide in the cave. So what we want to do is create an adversarial situation in our work that allows us to be safer. In other words, we're trying to get ourselves fired so we can go home and be alone in our apartments and go through any one of 5 museum states. And just get the frying pan and beat ourselves over the head with wild abandon.
Do you consider time deading kind of stability boredom?
Okay, now time deading came out of Debtors Anonymous. And it came out of it because John H., the founder of Debtors Anonymous, had sort of a very funny qualification in San Francisco in 1995. And so people took deading and applied it to deading to myself, time deading, deading to the world, I'm deading regarding my vision, I'm vision deading. And I just want to say here, if there's anything come out of this thing, there's no such thing really as time deading. What you have is time wasting. We can waste time. We can waste time. But we can't pay back time after we've wasted the time because the time was spent. There goes the phrase. How are you spending your time? So we can't go back and pay back time. This moment will never come again. And all I can do is be as present as I can in this moment and be alive in this moment. But so either we have 2 choices. We can either waste time or we can use time well. We can either waste time or use time well. Now, how do we use time well? Well, that's a big subject, but the first question the person has to answer themselves is, how does this serve me? In a relational manner. Relational, not reactive. For example, maybe it's important for you not to work this afternoon. Maybe it's important for you to go to the beach. Or maybe it's a terrible idea for you to go to the beach. Maybe it's important for you to work. I can't answer that because every life is different. What's been going on over the last couple of days? What's been going on last night? What state are you in? So that's why we have to be interdependent with who? Action partners and yeah, and I have I have a wonderful action partner who will say, she's really worried about cash flow. The sales aren't closing. She's got a lot of anxiety about this. The person she hired for sales, and one of the things we'll say to her in an action meeting, what are you going to do today to take care of yourself? Because given her, she'll go down Anxiety Street. She'll do a 2-step tango down Anxiety Street and end up on Misery Boulevard by the end of the day. So we have to take care of ourselves. Are you going to the gym? Do you work out on a regular basis? When was the last time you went to a movie? Have you blurred your clothes lately? So these are very subjective things. All UA recovery is highly customized. It's very customized. It's very much to the individual. Everyone has a different financial situation, vision situation, your age, your background, what are you doing? There's so many subjective choices. So this afternoon, where everyone gets an action meeting, you'll see that every life has its own structure and curvature. But the one thing that has in common is that we have to be relational, we have to take care of ourselves, and ultimately, we have to live out of our character assets. So we're going to take a 10-minute break, but before we do, I'd like to hear everyone tell me what the 5 character symptoms are and the 5 character defects are. Okay, the 5, yes, you can cheat. The 5 character defects are self-centered fear, self-seeking, selfishness, dishonesty, inconsideration. Okay, what are the 5 character assets? Faith-seeking, honesty, consideration, generosity. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Great session. 5-minute break. 5 minutes. Okay, let's get back to work, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have you sit down, we're ready to start.
Ready to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Come on back.
come on.
It's amazing how many people can get lost in 5 minutes.
Ladies, can we have you sit down? Please.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, guys, on live stream, I will repeat the questions and the answers to the best of my ability. Okay. All right, so we spoke about character defects and the symptoms. So now we're going to look at a subject that is very rarely talked about with any expansiveness in any 12-step fellowship that I've ever been in, which is called character assets. Character assets are what is why we're here. Character assets are why we work the steps.
Work our assets off.
That's right. Oh, man. I put something while it was stuck. Okay, so character assets are the opposite of character defects, and we're going to talk about how they manifest in the tools of UA. The first character asset is God-centered faith. God-centered faith. God-centered faith is basically a state that we have to earn through working the steps, by coming to meetings, by helping others. And like any addiction, we're never cured. We get a daily reprieve based on the maintenance of our deal. I mean, anyone in other fellowship, we're no different. We got to maintain it, and that's what we get a daily reprieve. Second character asset is faith seeking. In every motivational book, in hundreds of songs, in common sales parlance, people say you gotta believe, which means you gotta have faith. In a lot of motivational books, they'll say we have to have faith that this will work out, and if we work on it, we'll have faith. And we have then, of course, generosity to ourselves and our community. We have consideration to ourselves and community, and we have honesty. And if I say to myself, Andrew, you're full of crap, I'll say, wow, thanks for being honest. I mean, if I admit to myself that I'm lying, then I'm being honest. If I don't know that I'm lying, the worst thing we can do is to lie to ourselves about the fact that we're lying to ourselves. And then we're believing stuff in our head, and we're believing the voices, and we're believing of our character defects. So, faith-seeking, generosity, honesty, consideration, and God-centered faith. Those are all of our character assets. Everything that's been invented, every project from the Wright brothers to Edison was really based on character assets. I mean, Thomas Edison worked sometimes 18, 19 hours a day. And he considered himself a very simple guy. And his whole idea is, I want to make the damn thing work. So his fun was out of consideration to himself by wanting to make the invention work. And often he had no idea how it would work. But he did have faith that it would. He did have faith that it would. When Apple Computer started, they had faith that Steve Wozniak believed that by faith in this thing called Apple and the vision that it would work out. So they were being considered to themselves, and the vision was to supply this really great new computer to the world. Same thing with Microsoft. They wanted to have software and Bill Gates' vision was to have a computer in every house and everything. And of course, this came out of faith, God-centered faith, faith-seeking, honesty and consideration to themselves and their community. It's a really powerful thing. In the last year, I wrote a book, and I started it July 1st. And I've never really written like a real book before. I wrote a little pamphlet, I wrote some UA literature. But I began this book July 1st, and I just had the desire to get the thing going and to work on it. And every day, I had that energy of, I need to write, I need to do that. And there's the thing about when we, there are two types of people regarding vision. There are professionals and there are amateurs. A professional does what he does every day. Write it down. A professional does what he does every day. An amateur waits for inspiration. A professional knows that by doing what they do every day, the inspiration will come. Because upon commitment, the universe conspires to assist. UA was created by a vision that I had for people to come out of the cave. And at the time, when I was writing the basic symptoms and tools in my apartment facing the garbage dump in Nyack, When I was able to like make sure that the mice didn't get on the writing, I had a maximum work period of about 5 minutes, and then I feel exhausted and I'd have to take a nap. So the initial symptoms and tools had about a work duration of about 3.5 minutes, and then I would go into a fetal position. Because of the thought of bringing this 12-step thing to life was totally overwhelming, and it was totally out of the cave, and it was totally, no, I'm going back into brown bear hibernation. But I had committed to it, and I kept on reading, and I kept on working it, and eventually I had the basic symptoms and tools. So inspiration comes from sitting, the universe wants to see our butt in the chair. The universe wants to see our butt in the chair almost every day, but certainly most of the time. And it doesn't matter whether you're a sculptor, whether you're a software engineer, whether you're an architect, whether you're a composer, whether you're designing roller coaster rides, whether you're dealing with the archaeology. The universe wants to see our butt in the chair. And unfortunately, without UA recovery, that's a very hard thing to do. In some cases, it's impossible. But think about it. When I sat down to write every day, what character assets were powering that? Anybody? Basic. What? Basic. It's one.
Generosity to self.
To myself, right.
Consideration.
Yourself.
To myself, okay. And others, the potential reader, right? God, son, and faith. Basic. Okay. Honesty. And I was honest. I was saying I'm not Ernest Hemingway. I'm not David Sedaris. I am me, and I am a brilliant, funny writer to the degree that I am. And that was enough. In the last year, writing this book was one of my biggest accomplishments in UA because the energy stayed on every day. Meaning that my recovery was stronger than my disease. I had no writer's block. There were no voices in my head saying, who are you to write a book?